Good Saturday morning, everybody. Mark back here with yet another live stream video. So, as you can tell from the title, I have been considering going back and reliving my film days. Now, a lot of people are beginning to slowly but surely rediscover the joys of actual photography with film. There's a lot of reasons for that, so I'm basically just going to try and discuss with you guys the reasons that I am potentially going back. I did a video, it was just a couple of videos ago, where I was describing my love and admiration for Ilford film stock. It's probably some of my favorite film stock ever. And I love that film so much because of just its overall aesthetic. As I've said many times in the past, I absolutely love aesthetic shooting. I love the way, certain films just look. Hey, good morning, photography junkie. But, a lot of people like to be extremely technical with the photographs, but I think that for me, the overall look, the overall feel, the grain pattern, that kind of thing, those are the things that attract me to certain types of film more than anything else. And I think, maybe that's true for a lot of people, but sometimes, and this is true on more occasions than not, people get so caught up in all of the technical aspects of photography and the gear and the flashes and the lenses and the specs and the the ISO performance and all this other kind of stuff, that they, in my opinion, just tend to forget that photography is not only a hobby and a profession, but it's supposed to be fun. There's supposed to be this element of surprise. There's supposed to be this element of discovery. And so much can go interestingly wrong when you are using film. And for me, having those happy little accidents are probably one of the best parts of using film, because it is not always it's not always about exactly what the technical aspects are. Sometimes it's just about the process. And a lot of people, what they ought to be doing is they need to be focusing more on the creative aspects. And so many times we just don't think about the creative aspects like we ought to. And just sort of playing around and discovering exactly what you maybe really are going to like and what you're not going to like is something that maybe we should be looking more into. I mean, I think that that's the way I am kind of approaching it now, is that since digital, and digital is extremely convenient. It is absolutely positively convenient, but it's also very sterile in a lot of respects. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. When you pick up and you're using digital, if you were raised on digital, if you are, say under 20 years old, then there is a really good chance that you've never even held a film camera in your entire life. There's a really good chance that you have never once picked up an instant film camera and used that camera and just, had to sit around and wait for 2 weeks while your film came back. And, not knowing what exactly the photograph looked like when it finally got back to you, and just opening up that package. You have all your photographs there in the sleeve, and then you've got all your negatives in behind it, or you send it off to a professional print shop and you get these nice big printed portraits that are not on some level of, Walmart paper or whatever. Actually sending off photographs to a real developing company and getting those photographs back on some sort of like textured paper, or some sort of like Fuji crystal archival paper, something like that. Absolutely amazing feeling getting those photographs back. So I've been, for the large part of like 7 to 8 years, not even picked up a film camera. And I feel really bad about that. But back in when I was in high school, we had photography class, So there was a large portion of my life as a young photographer that was just dedicated to playing around with pinhole cameras, playing around with old film cameras, stuff like that. And then what would happen is that we would take all of our film and we would go into our darkroom. We would spend time fixing our film, our negatives, cutting it up, and then going into the process of actually developing the film with our own paper and creating via the developer, whatever kind of, feel you wanted your photographs to have. You had complete and total control of that. Granted, digital is much easier. It's much less messy. It's, in the long run, probably a whole lot less expensive. But at that exact same time, you also lose a lot of the tactile sensation. No matter how digital we get, we are tactile beings, okay? Tactile is what we get off on. And I don't mean to put that so crudely, but that is what we do. We touch stuff. We kiss things. We hug people. We are very touch sensitive. And to do that on a regular basis with not only like the relationships that you have with people, but to also do that with pieces of gear and your art. That makes a huge, huge difference in the way that you interact with that medium. When you're hugging someone or kissing someone or, that kind of stuff, there's a different feeling with that than there would be of FaceTiming someone. So that's what I'm going to try and liken it to. If you're, webcamming with someone, you can fake it. You can sort of, say I love you, but there's no real way for you to express your love like actually and physically going up to that person, giving them a big hug and a kiss and saying, I love you dearly with all of my heart. And I think that that analogy describes film photography almost perfectly. Going up and actually touching your camera, every single setting is manual, and then the entire process after that, actually giving that film a big hug and a kiss and expressing your affinity for your art, for your photography by actually getting in on the process. I think it's a huge thing. So essentially what I've done is I have repurchased an old camera that my dad used to have. And it is the Minolta X570. Some of you guys have probably seen this camera in your own parents' collection. I've also got the Polaroid 600 that I've used a lot of times, but I really wanted to get this one specifically because my dad had it. And I found it on eBay. It was in absolutely pristine condition. I mean, absolutely nothing wrong with this camera. Even came with the film winder, the automatic film winder down here. Everything worked. I just needed to put some batteries in it, so the film winder comes on just fine. It actually works really good with the film on. You can even hear it. Oh, that is so nice. So nice. So I haven't heard that sound in a very, very long time. Gotta be honest, with that big sort of chunky kerchunk, feels nice. It really does. Very nostalgic for me. So what I've done is, of course, when Sony first came out with their A6000, it was abundantly clear that we could go out and we could adapt old school film lenses to our Sony cameras. So with me already having several different old school Minolta film lenses, to me it just made sense to not only get the old camera that my dad used to have, but to also buy it again because I already had a nice cache of old Minolta lenses sitting around. So I've got like the 28mm f2.8 here. I mean, absolutely clean, beautifully clean optics, not a bit of dust or mold or fungus or anything inside the lenses. I've got this old VMAR automatic, another Japanese lens, and their 50mm f1.7 Rocar lens. And I've also got this old, this is a ProMaster Spectrum. It's not the best lens at all, but this is one of those lenses that, you know, most people doesn't see anymore. It's an old push-pull style lens. Goes all the way out to 200 millimeters and also has macro. And like I said, it's not that great of a lens, but in combination with some really good film stock, you can make some very aesthetically artistic choices with these types of lenses. So for those of you that watch my channel on a regular basis, what I've decided to do, and this is just an idea, I'm just kind of throwing it out there, and if you guys are interested in doing it with me, I think that would be really cool. On 500 pixels, I have a group there. And I figured what we could do is that I could start a thread in that 500 pixels group where if anyone else decided that they wanted to maybe try, if you've never done film photography before, maybe you could try it for the first time and get a very cheap and inexpensive camera. I think that I picked this entire setup, the camera with the automatic film winder, 50 bucks. She was wanting 70 for it. I offered her 50 and she took it, and I got it in 2 days. So you can find some extremely good deals, and there are a lot of good cameras out there that you can use film with. You can get the Pentax K1000, which was an excellent, easy camera. This camera here, the Minolta X570, is probably one of the most straightforward cameras that you can get for film. Everything is very simple, easily laid out. As a matter of fact, I even tried one of my Yongnuo flashes on this thing, and it worked, I mean, absolutely perfectly. So any of the flashes with the that we're working on your Sony cameras, if you happen to be a Sony shooter, it'll work on this camera too. So what I was thinking what we would do is that we would actually buy some rolls of film, and we would maybe set ourselves up some deadlines. Take some photographs. Let's not worry about gear. Let's not worry about what camera we have. Let's not worry about what lenses we have. Let's not worry about any of that shit. For once, let's not worry about the gear we're carrying. Let's carry around some $50 cameras. Yeah, I mean, if you've got a couple of $100 for a Myanmar or something like that, if you're going medium format or just whatever, let's just maybe focus on our art. Focus with our creativity. And just see what we can come up with. And when we do, let's get it printed or get it scanned at least so that we can get it up onto that group. And let's share those images with each other. And like I said, it's a 500 pixels group. It's 500px.com. It's an amazing photography community. Some of the best, most amazing photographers and artists are on that website. You are going to be blown away if you've never been to that website before at the level of skill that some of these photographers have. And you will find just a mountain of really amazing inspiration there, and ideas, and just ways of doing things with your photography that you may have not even have considered before. So that's what I was wanting us to do. So here's some of the film that I'm going to pick up. I'm going to pick up, now I don't really like to do a whole lot of color photography personally, but I did decide to go ahead and pick up a lot of old Fujifilm Superia Extra 400. So they're only 24 exposures, but they're discontinued by Fuji. I can get them for about $12.75 on Amazon. Super duper cheap. Now, like I said, I love Ilford film stock. So I decided to pick up some Ilford HP5 400 film. I was able to get a 5-roll pack for about 30 bucks. That comes out to roughly $6 a pack. I mean, super cheap. And I'm also thinking about picking up some Kodak Tri-X 400 film. Again, just amazing grain with the Kodak Tri-X. And it is just tried and true. It still works. It's still great. It's still some of the best stuff out there that you can pick up. And you can get it still relatively cheap. So what we can do is, you know, in that group, we can all get together. And if we want to talk about the film that we used, and we want to talk about whatever lens that we wanted to pick up, and use or whatever, well, you can do that, but let's really try and focus on maybe the art, the actual creative process. And let's just try for once. I know that in this day and age where everything is digital, everything is about specs, how fast, you know, how much, all this stuff. Let's just go back and get some old cheap stuff. We'll stop worrying about this dick measuring contest with who's got the most expensive camera, who's got the most expensive lenses, and let's just focus on some art. And I would be really interested to see what we can do with some extremely simple. Now, don't use anything that you've already taken. I mean, it's very easy for some of us, you know, to look back through our old film archives and go, great, I've got something, I'm just going to post that up. Envy me, bitches. So let's not do that. Let's do new stuff. Let's actually do the process together. And so today is Saturday, March 25th, 2017. Why don't we set a date for, say, like 2 weeks? So we'll come back. I don't know what the date is actually, but I'll find out for us real quick. In 2 weeks, it'll be the 1st. It'll be April the 1st. Hey, that'll be, no, that's 1 week. All right, so we'll do it on April the 8th. Damn. I was thinking maybe we could do it on April Fool's Day, but no big deal. So we'll do it on April the 8th. And if you guys are interested, sign up for a 500 Pixels account. It's completely free. And if you guys really like it, consider upgrading to a Plus. Or if you need to, okay, someone says 2 weeks soon, maybe need more time since my film is in the UK. Okay, maybe we'll just do it for a month. I'm totally cool with that. So we'll just go all the way to April 25th. That way it gives everyone plenty of time to get everything that they need, get a decent film camera, pick up a few cheap lenses from your local photography store, and then find some film that you really like. Okay, so we'll just set it for a month. Give everyone plenty of time. And if you really like 500 Pixels after using their free account for a little while, consider upgrading to a Plus or an awesome account. It really is worth it. And it's a fantastic photography-centered community. And the reason I'm trying to kind of get this across to everyone and tell everyone about this is mainly because while we've had great success with the Instagram pod, each pod only allows 15 people at a time. So I'm not going to disband the pod, but I'm encouraging everyone to go to the 500 Pixels group. And I will leave a link to the 500 Pixels group down in the description box below as soon as the stream is over so that everyone can click on that and find us. And once you get your film and once you get it all together, get it developed however you want. This is my thought process. I'm seriously thinking about buying some of this 400 speed film, and I'm thinking about pushing it an extra 2 stops. I'm going to do some really low light type shots, and I'm going to push it so I can really enhance that grain. I love the darker, grainier photographs. The less quote-unquote pure that a photograph is, the better off I'm going to be. So in combination with some of these older cheap lenses, I mean, just because I say cheap and just because I say older does not mean that this is crap glass. This old film glass is still some of the best glass that you can buy. And it's still in pristine condition 30, 40 years later because no one appreciates the art of film anymore. So let's all rediscover it together. If you guys have any questions or comments about anything that I've discussed in this video, if you have any questions about, you know, the group or what we're doing or how we're going to do it or what we want to do as far as a project goes, leave all that stuff down in the comment section below. I'm pretty responsive and I will try to answer as many of those as I possibly can. So anyway, guys, thanks again for hanging out with me here on this beautiful Saturday morning. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.